After taking home an Olympic gold medal 4 years earlier, there was a ton of pressure on the Soviets to do it again. But just how far one man was willing to go to secure gold for his team would change the sport of fencing forever. See, Boris Onischenko was the king of the modern pentathlon, a 5-event contest which includes pistol shooting, swimming, horse riding, cross-country running, and fencing. It was an event which suited him well. As a major in the Soviet army, the event, which is designed to simulate the experience of a 19th century cavalry soldier behind enemy lines, suited his military training. Boris and his Soviet teammates had already won team gold in 1972, and so at the 1976 Montreal Olympics, Boris was eager to maintain the Soviet Union's dominance. In the fencing portion, Boris was phenomenal. He was outperforming everyone so easily that the other fencers started to think he must have been cheating, and they began to complain, insisting that the officials check his sword, known as an épée. See, in modern fencing, the épées are wired. When the tip of the sword gets pushed down with enough force, it completes an electrical circuit, triggering a light and registering a point. The theory was that Boris's sword must have been hypersensitive, registering soft touches or even near misses as legitimate hits. But as the officials inspected his weapon, it passed. The sensitivity was normal. It seemed he really was just that much better than everyone else. However, when Boris came up against Great Britain's team, particularly their captain, Jim Fox, the tide began to turn. During one bout, Jim was convinced that Boris had scored a point without even making contact. The light had flashed, but Jim felt nothing. So when Boris defeated him and prepared for his next match, the British team watched closely. Again, it seemed like Boris was registering hits without his sword even touching the opponent. Jim had had enough. He stormed out onto the strip, he ripped Boris's épée from him, and he handed it to the officials, demanding a full strip-down inspection. But this time, the officials weren't just checking the sensitivity of the tip. They took apart the handle, and there it was, a small, cleverly concealed button. Boris had wired his épée so that he could manually trigger the scoring light himself at any moment he chose. Boris Onischenko was a cheater. When he returned to the Soviet Union, he was stripped of his rank, fined, and dishonorably discharged from the Soviet army. The international media had a field day, dubbing him Boris Onischenko. And as for the British team who exposed him, they went on to win the gold.